I've seen some people posting this video game grid around, but I kind of thought about doing one myself, but I thought it would be more fun if I just did only FromSoftware games, because I'm going to have to think about it a lot either way. So, but with FromSoftware, there's so many games I feel like I could do this easily. So, make sure it captures the mouse. There we go. All right. Favorite game? This one's easy. Demon Souls. I think that one's an easy. Let's start with the easy ones. Well, the ones that are easy for me. I feel like a lot of these are not going to be agreeable for most people, but I don't really care. Can I type? Best combat, easily. Armored Core 4 answer for me. Criminally underlooked. That one, Yoshitsune Iyuden Shura. It is a Muso-style game that FromSoftware made about Yoshitsune. It actually covers a lot of the historical battles, and the cutscenes are really, really good. Benkei in that game is amazing. I love it. All right, let's look for some... okay, that one, I think we're going to go Personal Impact. We're going to go Armored Core 2, the first FromSoftware game I played. So that's probably biggest personal impact, and then it probably makes sense, right? Best multiplayer, that's kind of a hard choice. I think if I were to pick... this is either going to be like Cookie and Cream, or Verdict Day, or Chrome Hounds. Probably Chrome Hounds, actually. It's a game that's built around multiplayer, and it was made by From Network, which was a division of FromSoftware, which was literally just completely about making online download games. And, you know, you can make some pretty crazy mechs, and multiplayer was pretty cool. So, we're going to go with that. Man, some of these are going to be really hard. Nostalgic childhood game. Probably... Nexus? Because Nexus, you know, it may be not the best Armored Core game, but there's so much content in it, and I played this one probably more than any of the other PS2 Armored Core games when I was a kid. So I'm really nostalgic for this game, but looking back at it, it's definitely not like the biggest personal impact or, you know, my favorite game or even like underrated. I think it's just good, but I have a lot of nostalgia for it. So I think it probably would fit best there. I can move stuff around if I end up needing to. Okay, best story... that one's actually kind of... I think it's gotta be Echo Knight, right? It's gotta be one of the Echo Knights. Either that or Daracene. Okay, Daracene is underrated. How do you spell that? It's French, so it's probably not going to come up unless I copy the name. There we go. Daracene, underrated. You know, only available for the PlayStation VR. So almost nobody has played it. It's not like hated or anything. It's just that nobody's played it, so it's not rated. It's this game deserves a lot more appreciation because it's the last FromSoftware Sony Japan Studio video game, and it's basically Echo Knight 4, and I love it. I love this game. I need to replay it again. I've played it a few times already, but it's been a while. It just sucks because you have to play it on PlayStation VR. They should release a patch that just makes this playable without VR because it doesn't need VR. Oh my god. Best soundtrack. Okay, turn my brain off. I mean, like, when I play Dark Souls 1, I kind of turn my brain off, but I don't think that's what I'm really going to go with. I think I'm probably going to put Murakumo there, just because it's just like a rail shooter. You don't really need to think to play Murakumo. but it's also really fun, and I like it. So I'll probably just say Murakumo for that. Best retro game. Oh, I have no idea. I mean, this has got to be Kingsfield 1J, right? Oh, they don't have 1J in here because this is English only games, I guess. But they have Yoshitsune. Yeah, they don't have Kingsfield 1J. Okay, well, I guess Shadow Tower then. Because in, like, if we're picking best... What's up, Dylan? Yeah, it's not really a tier list, but yeah, it's like a grid thing. And I'm doing only FromSoft games. So, this is what we got so far. I think I'd probably pick Shadow Tower. Is it? I forget what the Jap... Oh, yeah, you're right. That is 1J. I don't know then. Okay, so it's got to either be... It's either 1J or Shadow Tower. I don't know. Like, obviously, Kingsfield 1J is more retro. But if we're talking, like, the culmination of their PS1 development, like, which one's the best, right? I think it's got to be Shadow Tower, right? Because Shadow Tower is the successor to the PS1 Kingsfield games. And to me, it feels like it's the best. And, you know, the beginning of the game's a nightmare. You can run out of resources and die. Like, it's a hard fucking game. But in my opinion, this is, like, the best PS1 Ultima Underworld style game that they made. But 1J is definitely very sound. But I wouldn't say it's the best, right? It might be my favorite, but I wouldn't say it's the best retro game. I'd say probably Shadow Tower, right? I mean, there's probably an argument to be made for Master of Arena. But my problem with Master of Arena is it's too short. And Master of Arena is really good, but I feel like it's too short. Whereas Shadow Tower, I feel like, is the best PS1 game they made. So if we're... I think... all of, like, if we're saying PS2 is retro, maybe I can put something else in here, but I think Shadow Tower wins out for me. Okay, if we're... favorite antagonist. This is actually a really difficult question, because FromSoftware doesn't usually make foil antagonists, you know, like somebody who's there the whole time, because, like... Oh, did I put a space in here accidentally? Yeah, okay. I feel like somebody like Stinger and Project Phantasma is in the running because he's there a lot. I wouldn't say Solus, because Solus just kind of shows up. You know, he's built up to, but he's only shows up at the end, and he's not that intimidating. And, you know, I like the fact that he goes through a character arc. Nineball... Like, Nineball is around, and he's threatening... But he's iconic, right? And he spans multiple games. But I have to put one game here, right? Am I putting Nineball from Master of Arena here? I don't know. And of course, there's Alfred and Edward from Shadow Tower. Like, Seath from Kingsfield 3, Gyra. Like, they just kind of show up at the end. You know, the crazy wizard from Evergrace is kind of funny. That would be a funny pick. You know what? I think the answer is Echo Knight. William Rockwell, right? William Rockwell shows up at the beginning cutscene. He's on the train, and he kills your dad in the first gameplay sequence. He goes through a really long character arc of starting out. He's just using the red stone to to improve his family's position in the world, right? He's doing it for himself, but also for other people. But as he gets corrupted by the red stone, he ends up only caring about himself, and it consumes his family, it consumes his life, it consumes his wealth, and then eventually it kills him, right? It's a much longer arc, where he's more directly confrontational and present in the story, and it culminates really well. I think, actually, best antagonist is William Rockwell, which is Echo Knight 1. Best soundtrack is going to be impossible to pick, so we're going to leave that for later. Overhated. I feel like the cop-out answer is this. Maybe, you know what? Depends on the day. But actually, I don't actually agree with that. I think because there's some people who say Dark Souls 2 is the best one the best game FromSoftware has ever made, and there's some people that say it's trash. It's not. It's not either of those things. So it's like in the middle. But I can think of a game. Hold on. This one might piss people off. I think this is true. I think this is true. I don't know if I could actually leave that there though, because Kuon, you know what? I think I just came up with a good argument for why Kuon should be there and why this one should be here. Ninja Blade. Because, in my opinion, Ninja Blade and Kuon are like similar in a lot of ways. They both have bad combat. They both have great art. They both have really good cutscenes. I think the Kuon story is good. But Ninja Blade has literally some of the craziest cutscenes I've ever seen in my life. You know, it has some really good levels, like interesting levels, but the combat is just not good. And Kuon, mechanically, is bad. You know, any survival horror game where you can just get out of combat and just charge your health back to max, like, that's just mechanically flawed. You know, you have items and you just don't need to use them because you could just run away and press R1. I think that's bad. I think if they had removed that feature and they just had limited heals, it would be a much more interesting survival horror game. You can't really dodge enemies. It's all about using your magic and stuff, which isn't that interesting. Ninja Blade is just not good combat-wise. There's quick time events, but there's some cool shit in this game. But whenever I see anybody talking about Ninja Blade, it's people shitting on it and telling people not to play it. But when I see people talking about Kuon, it's like, oh, it's really cool. It's a cool survival horror game. You should play it on emulator, right? It's like, in my mind, these two are very similar. But when you're talking about overhated and overrated, it's my perception of the general consensus of the community around the games. You know, to me, the general consensus of Kuon that I see other people saying is it's good and you should play it. And what I see about Ninja Blade is people saying it's bad and you shouldn't. So that makes, in my opinion, Ninja Blade overhated and makes Kuon overrated, right? Like, I'm not saying Kuon is bad. I'm just saying it's overrated, right? And sure, I could slap Dark Souls 2 into this, and I think it would be correct, but I also think Ninja Blade being here is correct, and I think Ninja Blade is the more interesting choice because, you know, nobody really knows Ninja Blade. So I think this is the more interesting pick, so I'm going to leave this here. I might end up moving it, but I think that's fine. Favorite, okay, I know favorite protagonist already. You get to play as the fucking president, dude, and he's fucking epic. Metal Wolf Chaos. I could also put Enchanted Arms here, but I don't even remember the name of the main character. So I'm not gonna even try to remember. Okay, we're getting kind of down to the wire here. I think best with friends. This is either got to be Cookie and Cream or Verdict Day. That That's actually a hard choice because Cookie and Cream is you can play it by yourself, but it's really not made for that. It's definitely best with friends. And but Verdict Day is the same way. Like Night Rain 2, I don't know. I think I'm going to put Verdict Day here and I'll decide later. Because Verdict Day is like very online focused, and when I played through Verdict Day, I played through it with a friend because you can co-op every mission in Verdict Day and it makes it a lot more fun. So I'm just gonna leave that there for now. It could be Cookie and Cream, it could be Night Rain. I'm just gonna leave Verdict Day there for now. It might end up staying. So best story. What do like Echo Knight 2 or Nebula? Nebula is the Japanese name. Echo Knight Beyond, maybe. Echo Knight Beyond could go here. Okay, so this has got to be Bloodborne, right? Art style? It's either got to be Bloodborne or Shadow Tower Abyss. I mean, Bloodborne looks good, but the thing that with Bloodborne that I don't like is the chromatic aberration. I feel like if they did not put chromatic aberration over the game, I would like it. It would probably get the pick. But honestly, I think Shadow Tower Abyss is the best looking PS2 game I've ever played. So I'm gonna put this here, but I feel like Bloodborne almost ties. But if it didn't have chromatic aberration forced, I would probably put Bloodborne here. But Shadow Tower Abyss just looks so good as well, and it doesn't... I don't know. We're going, I guess, if there's going to be a tie, I'm going to go slightly more obscure. You know what? That might be true. That might be true, but, like, what's the story beat, right? Like, what is the actual story beats? It's, you know, Alfred gets possessed by Seath, goes crazy, so then Alexander like seals him in the castle, and Alston Lyle Forrester has to go and defeat him, and he gets the 4 magic things, he gets the sword, and then he defeats him. You know, like the story is not really the focus. Like, I think it's solid. You know, I'm not a hater. I think the Kingsfield stories are fine. It's just not that interesting. You know, I don't know. It's serviceable. But I think, honestly, like, some of the Armored Core stories beat it out. I think Armored Core 4's story probably beats it out. I think Last Raven's story probably beats it out. I think Silent Line probably beats it out. I think the Echo Knight games beat it out because it's like the actual focus and there's twists. You know, like Echo Knight Beyond has actual twists. It's got an interesting setting. You know, it builds suspense. It has stingers. It has twists. And it has a really solid ending with multiple endings, right? Like, I don't know, and I know this is like nitpicking, but them bringing back Lynn in the credits in the English version, I think kind of is stupid, because if I remember right, they don't do that in the Japanese version. So, I don't know. You know what? Yeah, because it's best story. It's not best lore. That's a hard one. I'm going to put Echo Knight Beyond in there for now. But I might change that. Needs a remake. I mean, I could put so many different games here. I could put like every single game here. I think the one that probably has the best upshot is Evergrace. I think Evergrace has a really good premise. I think the bones of Evergrace are good, but the execution in like combat in Evergrace is just not that great. I think the upside of Evergrace getting a remake is huge. I think Armored Core 1 could use a remake. Forever Kingdom, no. You know what? Hold on. It's overrated. It has a shit opinion, but it's not looked down upon enough. Okay, I gotta think. I might come back to that one, but we gotta think about more stuff. I think in this slot you could put a huge amount of different things, right? You could put Kingsfield 1J. You could put Kingsfield 2, which is probably the one that actually would get a remake, I think. Unless FromSoftware, actually, you know what? 1J has a remake. 1J, they remade it on the Sword of Moonlight engine, so that can't get it. So Kingsfield 2 could get a remake, and that would be good, because that's probably like the best Kingsfield game structurally aside from 4. Kingsfield 4 could be in here. Eternal Ring could be there. You could put Sprig in there. But I think my personal pick is Evergrace. So I'm just going to leave that. Best soundtrack. I mean, we're listening to the Armored Core music right now, right? I don't know. I think you could just do something like Eternal Ring, because I feel like Eternal Ring's music fits the game so well, and you can listen to it on its own, and it's amazing. Now, is it as interesting and like complex as some of the music in Armored Core? No. I could put Armored Core 4 there very easily as well. Because Armored Core 4's OST is fucking peak. I don't know. I feel like we kind of have... Well, we have 1 Armored Core, 2... we have 3 Armored Cores on here. I feel like Eternal Ring is probably what I would do. I think Kingsfield 4 also could go here. But to me, I think there's more good tracks in Eternal Ring. Kingsfield 4 has like 5 really, really, really good songs. But Eternal Ring is like over 12. Over 12 good songs. So I think Eternal Ring goes there. If I could just say Armored Core, I would probably do that, but I don't know. I feel like the density of the songs in Eternal Ring are so high. I feel like I could also put Lost Kingdoms there. Lost Kingdoms 1 has a really good OST. Yeah, this is just FromSoftware only stuff, Blue. So this is just like the tail end of it, though. But we're getting to the hard ones. So right now, I'm not really sure which one to put best soundtrack. I've got Metal Wolf Chaos as best protagonist, which I think is true. I think that actually is true. Okay, so not usually my thing, but I don't really know what that means. I guess it's something that's like it has a mechanic that you don't like, but it ends up working for you. It could, yeah. The reason why I put Echo Knight as antagonist is just it's an adventure game, and the antagonist is like very present the entire time and constantly working against you, which works really well. Cookie and Cream, I don't know. I mean, I don't hate platformers, and I don't hate puzzle games, so that doesn't... You know what? I think it's Lost Kingdoms. I don't like deck builders most of the time. Basically, most games that have deck building, I just completely avoid because I don't like it. But it works for Lost Kingdoms, so I don't know. Maybe that goes there. So the last one, I guess I should just like empty this one out. I don't really know what to put here. And I don't really know what to put here because if I were to just say what's a game that I think is the best one that they've made that somebody should play, I would say Armored Core 6. But the problem is Mecha is a hard sell to a lot of people. So everyone is the operating word here, and I think that's probably makes it Dark Souls 3. because Dark Souls 1 you could put there, but the ending of Dark Souls 1 isn't very good. Like, the last third of the game is just unfinished. I could put Bloodborne there, but Bloodborne has a lot of quality of life problems, so I don't think I'd pick that one. I think it's probably Dark Souls 3. Probably Dark Souls 3. I'm not sure about that one, though. Overrated. I feel like no matter what I put here, it just doesn't really work. Because in my mind, I want to say Kuon. And this would... It's true. This just makes me seem like a hater, though. You know, because I don't hate Elden Ring, but it definitely is overrated. I don't know. Doing this just, like I said, it makes me seem like a hater. Because it's just like, oh, he doesn't like the new thing. You know? I don't know. Honestly, I think Night Rain is overrated. Because the roguelike mechanics just suck, but the actual bosses are good. But, I don't know. Oh, it's such a hard choice. I want to say Kuon. I really want to say Kuon. And I think the fact that Kuon is $2,000 really puts the nail in the coffin. Because I think that comparison to Ninja Blade and Kuon is actually a pretty good comparison, because they both have bad combat and mechanical issues, but a lot of cool stuff in them. But people just tend to hold Kuon in high regard over Ninja Blade. I mean, they're difficult to compare because they're completely different genres and they have different goals and everything. And Kuon is a better put together game at the end of the day. But I don't know, man. It mechanically, it's just so messed up. I just cannot stand the fact that you can heal out of combat the way you can, because there's no reason to have that. The healing items do the job. It's just like throwing your... Like, imagine Resident Evil and you change rooms and you press a button and you just get unlimited full heals. That's literally what it is. You know, it just feels like such a stupid thing to do. But I don't know. I think it's mainly because the price thing, it really drives it home. All right, I'm going to just look over everything. I mean, favorite game is completely subjective. Demon's Souls is my favorite FromSoft game. That's just how it is. Echo Knight Beyond, there's a lot of interesting twists and turns in the story. But this one, I don't know. I feel like we might have to remove that one. Art style, it's either going to be Bloodborne or Shadow Tower Abyss. And just because... the chromatic aberration of Bloodborne, I don't really feel like that's what... I don't think I can put Bloodborne here because of that. But, like, concept art-wise, enemy design-wise, location-wise, Bloodborne is right up there with Shadow Tower Abyss. Armored Core 2 is the first FromSoftware game I ever played. It was, like, my first mecha game that I owned. This was, like, a formative game for me. It 100% is the most impactful. If it wasn't the most impactful, Armored Core 4 Answer would be the most impactful, I think. Either that or Kingsfield 4 or Shadow Tower. But Armored Core 4 Answer, the combat it's so good. Dude, there's depth to the combat. You can tune the combat with the regulations in a way you want. It's so good. The combat is peak. I love it. It's so fast. It's mind-numbingly fast. It just feels so good when you pull off some of the moves. It's got to be best combat. I just talked about Ninja Blade. I think it's overhated. The game is not that great, but there's a lot of things to like about it. But I just see people all the time telling people it's not worth playing, and I think it is. I think it's overhated. Alternate for this slot is Dark Souls 2. Because Dark Souls 2, it's not horrid, you know. Maybe it's not the high-octane action game that you want from a Souls-like or something, but I feel like Dark Souls 2 probably is overhated. But Ninja Blade, I think, is the more interesting choice because it's a conversation almost nobody has nowadays. Deracine is underrated because maybe like 5 people on planet Earth have played it. This could also go in best story, and I might actually move it there for now. I'm not sure. This is interchangeable because Deracine is basically Echo Knight 4. It has a bunch of time travel. It's got a lot of good characters. The writing is interesting. The problem is it's just you have to have a PlayStation VR to play it, so almost nobody played it, so nobody talks about it, so it's extremely underrated. It's the last FromSoftware and Sony Japan Studio video game they ever made together, so that's big. Evergrace, I feel like it's got good setting, it's got good characters, it's got an interesting premise, it's just executed a little wonky because it's a launched PS2 title. I think they could adapt this game to the Souls-like style, and it would be very popular nowadays. It would be more of like a JRPG storyline Souls game, and I feel like there's a lot of people that would be there for that. And I think it deserves a remake just because the gameplay is just like very simple. It could be drastically improved with a remake. Yoshitsune Iyuden Shura it's the Musou game that they made that follows the storyline of real life events of Ushiwakamaru becoming Yoshitsune, and you know, it's a pretty good Musou, but it was only released in Japan, so almost nobody even knows this game exists, but it's pretty good. I don't really need to say a whole lot about Metal Wolf. If you want to know why it's favorite protagonist, just watch a cutscene from Metal Wolf Chaos and you'll know. William Rockwell is fucking amazing. The density of the good amount of songs in Eternal Ring, I think, makes it best soundtrack. You could put a lot of different things here, like Armored Core 4, you know, Nexus has a huge OST that's amazing. We're listening to a song from it right now. Really good. I think best multiplayer, this could go a few different ways. This could be Night Rain. This could be Cookie and Cream. This could be Verdict Day. But I put Chrome Hounds specifically because Chrome Hounds is a multiplayer online game with a lot of really interesting ideas. It's a FromSoftware mecha game, but it's not as anime, right? It's more grounded. But the multiplayer is just, it was really fun. So, and Lost Kingdoms, you know, I put it in not usually my thing, but because I don't like card building games, but Lost Kingdoms makes up for it. It's really good. The action is good. I like the characters. I love Kadia. She's great. You know, just a good game, so I put up with the card stuff. Murakumo, it's a rail shooter, so there's not a lot for the player to do, but it is really fun. There's good music. There's good visuals. So that's my turn, my bringing off game. It's just not a whole lot going on. It's pretty simple and short, but it's like Star Fox 64. You know, that's the way I look at it. I could also put Dark Souls 1 here because I've played it so many times I don't need to think when I play it. Verdict Day, you can co-op every single mission in the game. There's a pretty heavy online focus. You can join a team, like a guild and stuff, and like work for objectives. It was definitely best with friends. Once again, you could put Night Rain here. You could put Cookie and Cream here. Shadow Tower just feels like the culmination of the old style first-person FromSoft games on the PS1. So I'd say that it's the best retro game that they made if we're just limiting it to PS1. Of course, if you're just saying best game with a retro feel, it would be Kingsfield 1J, but I picked this one. I picked Nexus for nostalgic childhood game because I had this game when I was a kid, and there's just a ton of content in this game, so I played it probably more than any other Armored Core game, except for For Answer. There's just more content, and it's easier to play than Last Raven. So, because I was a stupid kid, Last Raven was really hard, and I did beat it, and got all the endings and stuff, but it wasn't something that I really wanted to sit down and relax with. So this is like the nostalgic game. And Dark Souls 3, it just feels like this is where they got the quality of life combined with the combat. This is like where I feel like the whole picture that they were going for came together. You know? Dark Souls 1 is unfinished. Demon Souls is really janky. I love it, obviously. It's my favorite game. But Dark Souls 3 is like, they've nailed the mechanics down. It's a really solid action game. There's a lot of good art. There's a good message behind the game. I think everybody should at least play Dark Souls 3. Like, Dark Souls 1, if you play it and like, I don't like the way this feels, just play Dark Souls 3. Alternately, if you like mecha, Armored Core 6 goes here. Now, I have to think about best story again. Because if I move Daracene to best story, what goes to underrated? I guess is the question. Definitely not Spriggan. I need to look at the list of FromSoftware games. Hold on. You know, maybe I could put Sekiro there. But I feel like that's kind of a cop-out. Because Sekiro is well-liked and well-rated. Like, it received high critical ratings and stuff like that. I don't really know what to pick. Otogi? I could put Otogi there. Otogi 2, maybe. I don't know, but that's not, like, really underrated. Most of the time I see people talking about Otogi, it's generally positive. It's just not very well known. So, I don't know. I mean, I could always just put Daracene back as underrated and put Echo Knight Beyond as best story. Because the problem is it's best story. It's not favorite story, right? So if I wanted favorite story, I would probably do... I don't know, man. Let's see how I feel about putting Otogi there. I don't know. I don't know, man. You get to play as multiple characters in Otogi. I could do that, you're right. I could just put Daracene for both. Maybe Enchanted Arms could go in underrated. You know, that's fair. I could say Echo Knight 2 is underrated. But I don't know. Maybe that one... Is it underrated, though? Like, do people who play Echo Knight 2 go like, man, that wasn't very good? I don't know. I feel like nobody played it. I think that's the problem. I think Enchanted Arms is underrated, though. Because... You know, it's somewhat known, but nobody really hypes it. And, you know, I don't think it's amazing, though. That's the problem. I feel like with underrated, it needs to be something that's, like, I really like, you know? And I do like Enchanted Arms. But it's not that good, you know? I don't know. I feel like I could do this. I feel like I could leave Enchanted Arms as underrated. I don't know. What else? Let me look at the list again. Otogi, I don't know if I could put Otogi down. Man. The problem is with overhated, underrated, and overrated, it's all based on my perception of the general consensus of the community surrounding the games, right? It's like my perspective on their perspective, which I don't like. I don't like that. Because it makes it very difficult to gauge, because nobody fucking talks about Enchanted Arms. So does that make it underrated? And I do think too many people talk about Kuon compared to stuff like other things on this list. Huh. You know what? I don't... Maybe I'm ready to lock it in. Maybe I'm ready to lock it in like this. Because there is a lot of really cool stuff in Enchanted Arms, you know? There's a lot of really cool designs. I feel like the character dialogue is really good. That was my favorite part about Enchanted Arms, was just like the character dialogue. And I really liked, what's his name? This guy. I forget his name. Fuck, I can't remember the character's name. Let me look it up. Rygar, that's right. I wanted to say Raiden, but it's, yeah, Rygar. I liked Rygar. You know, I like Karine. I thought she was funny. Yuki is weird because she's like 11. Which is like a little freaky. Yeah, she's 11. I don't know. I feel like... What do you think, Spidey? Do you think Enchanted Arms is underrated? You're one of, like, 2 people on Earth who has played this game, aside from me. I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to put something in this slot. Because I feel like at this point I've accepted... Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, the problem with Enchanted Arms is it kind of becomes a slog a little bit. But... I mean, what else could I put? Okay, so, like, let's think about it this way. What else could I put? I could put Dark Souls 2 there. But I think Dark Souls 2 probably fits better with Ninja Blade. So maybe what I would do is do this, and then put Dark Souls 2 in Overhated. Oh, you know what? I know what I could put. The Japanese-only Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn game that FromSoftware made. Because that game is actually pretty good. And it has really amazing music. But then we're getting just so obscure that it's completely meaningless, right? Another Century Episode R has the same problem. Those games are not that great, but they are probably underrated. You know what? I'm going to put Enchanted Arms. Final answer. Lock it in. Alright. We did it. We've completed the grid. I think it turned out pretty well. I would say Daracene is probably the best story. The thing... Dude, there's no fucking Kingsfield on here. I don't know. Could I put Kingsfield 3 in underrated? I mean, I could. I think most of the time I hear people talk about Kingsfield 3, it's like, oh, it's not as good as Kingsfield 2 or 4. I don't know. I mean, both Shadow Towers made it on, and they're basically Kingsfield games. Man. I really cannot decide. Hmm. I'm trying to decide if there was a place I could put a Kingsfield game. Where would I put it? I can't put it here because the controls. It is my thing. It's not overlooked. It could Kingsfield 2 could use a remake, but I don't want to take Evergrace off because I think Evergrace deserves that more. I, I don't think I could ever change this. Yeah, there's just not, like, maybe we put 1J over Shadow Tower. Because if it is, I definitely feel like this nails the retro feel a lot more. Now, is it the best one? Maybe. I think Kingsfield 1J, there's something sublime about its simplicity, right? And maybe that just means it is the best at being retro. So maybe if we think about it that way, it's the best at being retro. I think that's fair. And then Shadow Tower makes it in. And I'm not, like, giving away, you know, I don't know, like, participation prizes or anything. It's just hard to actually decide what the title means to me, right? Because if we're thinking the best game that is retro, then it's, like, probably Shadow Tower. But if we're thinking the game that is the best at being retro, it's Kingsfield 1J. I don't remember what the cover for Kingsfield 1J is. It is this one. Okay. Yeah. So this is the 1J cover. So we're good with that. You know what? I'm locking it in. We're done. It's going good, bud. I did some routing for Kingsfield 4 today and decided to end it with this silly grid. We just wrapped it up. This was what we chose. All right, we'll go through the final recap. I mean, this is completely subjective. I think Demon Souls is my favorite FromSoft game. That's easy. I think Deracine is the best Echo Knight story, and it has the most interesting way of telling that story with the time travel and everything. And although I don't think it hits the peaks of antagonism as Echo Knight, I think it is a nice successor to Echo Knight. This is probably tied between Bloodborne and Shadow Tower Abyss, but Bloodborne has chromatic aberration that kind of look like butt. So, and this is like the best looking PS2 game ever. This was my first FromSoftware game, and it, first real mecha game. Changed my life. This game plays like a dream. There's so much depth to the movement and the fighting and For Answer. It's hard to beat. Ninja Blade has a lot of cool stuff in it, but the combat's kind of bad. But I see, I just see a lot of people saying, never play Ninja Blade. It sucks when it's worth playing. Enchanted Arms, almost nobody talks about this or plays this, and I think it's pretty good, so underrated. Kuwan has a lot of mechanical issues, but people talk about it very positively without ever really mentioning those mechanical issues, so I think it's just a little overrated. Evergrace, I think, would translate well into modern FromSoftware design with the combat, and it feels very dated when you play it. So I think this game needs a remake. I could go back and play it, but I think most people can't. Nobody's ever heard of Yoshitsune Yudenshura. It's good. It's a muso. It follows the historical battles of Yoshitsune, so cool. Watch a cutscene for Metal Wolf Chaos to know why it's the best protagonist. Favorite antagonist is William Rockwell, present throughout the storyline. Really cool. You know, goes through an interesting character arc where he eventually destroys himself, which is, you know, I think he's pretty well written. Eternal Ring is just every single song is a fucking banger. I find myself whistling the Disposal Valley song in real life almost every day. Chrome Hounds, really amazing multiplayer. You know, the movement's a little slow, but you can build some really crazy shit. It's fun to play with your friends over mic and stuff like that. It's pretty dead now, but this was probably the most fun multiplayer I've ever had with the FromSoft game. It was made by From Networks, technically, which is a subsidiary of FromSoftware, but I'm going to count it. The deck building in Lost Kingdoms, I usually do not like deck building, but the game itself is so good. The art is amazing. I love Katya. The gameplay is solid. The levels are fun. Good challenge. Just a good game. So all of that helps me get over the deck building, which I don't like. Murakumo is just a rail shooter for the Xbox. Pretty simple, not a whole lot going on. It's like Star Fox. You just play it, you turn your brain off, you shoot the things. Verdict Day, you can play every story mission co-op, which makes it a blast. The last few times I've played it, I played it co-op. I would not play this if I was not playing it co-op. Kingsfield 1J, FromSoftware's first video game. It feels sublime in its simplicity. It is the best game they've made at being retro. It's just... It's a masterpiece. It's an amazing first video game, but it is very retro, so if you're not ready for that, you're not going to like it. I almost put Shadow Tower 1 here, but I think Kingsfield 1J just fits the retro theme better. I probably played more Nexus than Armored Core 2, and for Answer, it wasn't exactly as impactful as Armored Core 2, but this is the one that I played the most. There's the most content in Nexus. It has its own problems, right? The save system sucks. You know, but it's very nostalgic for me. And, I mean, if we're saying the game everybody should play, for me, in my mind, it's between this. Personally, the boost heat in Nexus, I actually like it because it's something you actively have to be thinking about. The other games, it's something that's just a status ailment that gets inflicted upon you by a machine gun or napalm. In Nexus, it's something that you have to think about, and I actually like that. You have to build around it, and I think it makes it way more interesting than just being a status ailment. But yeah, it's something... It makes it more interesting actually building and thinking about it. That's just the way I view it. I totally understand if people don't like it, though, and just want, like, the status ailment style, but I like it. It's not a deal breaker, I guess, is what I would say. But for games everyone should play, in my mind, I want to say Armored Core 6, but I know Mecha is a hard sell for a lot of people, so if we're saying everyone should play it, I mean, Dark Souls 3 just feels like the game where they figured it all out, you know? Dark Souls 1 is unfinished, the last third is not done. Dark Souls 2 is more Kingsfield-y than being, you know, like a combat game, like an action game. Dark Souls 3 is just like they got the formula down, you know, they learned their lessons while making Bloodborne. They brought that into the Souls formula, so it's really high octane, it's fast, you know, it feels a lot more engaging than the other Souls games. I feel like most people could play Dark Souls 3 and enjoy it. Yeah, and I feel like Elden Ring I could also put there, but I feel like Elden Ring doesn't... It's a lot more disengaged, right? You spend a lot more time going around and doing open world stuff, and, you know, I think there's some people who just don't like that as much, like myself, you know? Dark Souls 3, it's just like, here's the fucking Crystal Lizard, dude, get in there. Here's Gundyr, get in there, you know? There's no figuring things out on where to go and planning a route and feeling overwhelmed like that, right? It's just, go straight, fight that fucker, right? So, I think if I'm just somebody who I've never talked to before in my life is like, hey, I heard you're the FromSoft guy. Which one should I play? I'd be like, you should probably play Dark Souls 3. Because one, you don't need a PS4 like Bloodborne, right? You can play it on PC like a regular human being. So it's got that going for it. And it's not as demanding as Elden Ring also. You could play Dark Souls 3 on like more computers. So I think that's pretty solid wrap up. Really, all of these games should be put on PC. All of them. Or some way to play them without needing to keep a fucking original Xbox around, you know? Like, this got a re-release. Metal Wolf Chaos is on PC. But this is on PC. Ninja Blade technically is on PC, even though the port doesn't work anymore. And then Dark Souls. That's it. Yeah, Dark Souls, I mean, FromSoftware games are just hard. You know, you have to learn how to play it. So I feel like Dark Souls 3 is a good representation of that too. Because if somebody's new to FromSoft, and they're going to know about the difficulty, right? I feel there's definitely people who bounce off of it, but I just watched somebody play 3 for the first time without having played anything else. I watched Crystal play it, and she had a great time. And she said multiple times, like, this isn't really my kind of game, but I love it. So I think that should remain the pick. Because if we start going in other directions, like Bloodborne has worse quality of life. You know, Armored Core 6, the controls aren't as tight, and on top of that, it's a mecha game. You know, Elden Ring, it's way too easy to get lost and confused at the beginning versus Dark Souls 3. I will say, though, Elden Ring does have, like, more crutches for players to get started, like the spirit summoning and stuff like that, but I still think I would pick Dark Souls 3. Yeah. I think that about sums it up. Thanks for watching.